To this now, the South African Teachers Union is marching in Pretoria Central today, protesting against austerity measures in the education system. The union says budget cuts are adversely affecting schools and learners. Newzroom Afrika's Nqobile Madlala joins us now live. Good afternoon to you, Nqobile. Tell us a little bit more about this protest.
Well, SADTU has 3 stops that they are making today to the Department of Basic Education, the Department of Higher Education and Training, and to Treasury. And they're basically saying that austerity measures have affected learners, they've affected schools, and they've affected communities and teachers. And so they're basically saying no to that, and they want to see a bit of change in the Department of Education. But I want to bring in my guest now, Nqobile, to speak to us about what is taking place here. Very important march, especially for the communities and for the schools. What are you saying today?
Look, we are here as SADTU to give our full support to our affiliate SADTU. Indeed, and I like the way you have characterized it and said this is a community march, because the issues that SADTU is raising are not just issues of teachers, they are not just issues of educators, they are societal issues. And we are here at Treasury, which is very core in how we're going to implement the manifesto, in how we're going to implement the State of the Nation address of the President. Look, we're dealing with issues of overcrowding. We're dealing with issues of the infrastructure that is in a decay state in our country. We're dealing with kids that are still unable, when there are floods in South Africa, they can't reach to school. You have educators that are unable to get to school because when there are floods, for example, in KwaZulu-Natal, the bridges are collapsing and kids, particularly the black kids from the black community, they are deprived of the quality education. And if we are to realize what is embedded in the Freedom Charter that is turning 17 years, we are saying to the Treasury, this is a moment for the people's budget. This is a moment for the Treasury to fund the apex priority in our country, that is education. And we are also calling on every stakeholder that exists in South Africa, because this is not about, as I said, teachers and members of SADTU. This is a societal issue. This is the future of our kids. And if South Africa was sitting with 41.9% of unemployment, we will not be able to address that if you have not addressed the fundamental, which is education.
And talking about the fundamental, education is exactly the basis that you want. How do you propose that it be done in terms of fixing?
Look, firstly, you can't propel in implementing policies without the real stakeholders being part of the conversation. Whether it's higher education, whether it's basic education, and whether it's Treasury, you cannot move in implementing what you do not understand fully. And those that understand it are those that are waking up in the morning, that are sacrificing their times with their families to ensure that we have a better South Africa. And you are saying the Minister of Basic Education, the Minister of Higher Education, Treasury must ensure that in every conversation that they are having, SADTU is not left outside, including COSAS, including all relevant stakeholders in the institutions that we are dealing.
You spoke about overcrowding in schools. Surely this affects the teacher-learner communication. And are you then asking for more infrastructure?
We're asking for more teachers. This is not a new issue. This issue of overcrowded classrooms, of teacher-pupil ratio, is an issue of decades. It does not start now, it does not start today. And we are saying we can't now, beyond 1994, still be addressing the same issue. Actually talking about it and not addressing it. So we think that it's going to be important that, when we measure what we will be doing, when we measure the outcomes of education in our country, the first thing that we need to do is to deal with the teacher-pupil ratio. I can tell you, when I was still in COSAS, this is one thing that we were driving as COSAS in the Eastern Cape. I am now a leader, I am now a parent. We're still talking about the same issue. Something is not right. And therefore we're saying to our government, to the leaders of our country, this requires a political will. But you are not going to do that if you don't deal with corruption, because corruption steals from the fiscus. So this is what we're saying, that let us all sit down, have a conversation, but also be clear the implementation that we want to see. If you're not going to address corruption, we're still going to be having fiscal challenges. But to address fiscal challenges does not mean that you must then freeze posts that are available.
Thank you very much for your time. We know that they need you now. Thank you very much. That is SADTU President Newzroom Afrika. As you can see behind me, a number of SADTU people that have come here, ensuring that they are echoing that voice, that it's very important to deal with the issues on the ground that are affecting teachers, learners, communities, etc.